Steven, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah. Can you hear
Oh
me?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There we go.
I can hear you. So thank you very much for this interview. Well, the Harmony Codex is your new release. So let's talk about uh how did you come with this new bunch of songs?
Well, it started during lockdown, and I don't want to call it my lockdown album, but it kind of was because I found myself in a situation of essentially enforced isolation. I had to cancel a tour, so I had a lot of time suddenly available to me that I wasn't expecting to have. Like everyone, at the beginning of lockdown, we all found ourselves at home, wondering what we were going to do with all this time that we suddenly had at home. So what I started doing was developing some ideas for this record. And I also started writing a book. And part of that book, which was published last year, part of that book was a short story called The Harmony Codex. And that short story was what you would describe as a piece of science fiction, a kind of dystopian science fiction story about two kids, a brother and sister, who enter a building and there's a terrorist attack on the building, and they find themselves trapped in the building and only able to go up. And they find themselves on this staircase, and the staircase is never ending. So it becomes this very kind of surreal, fantastic, dreamlike story about these two kids on this staircase that just keeps on going up and up and up and up without end. And so I started to develop some of the music around this theme as well, sometimes related more to the characters, but sometimes more loosely just related to this idea of a never-ending staircase as a kind of metaphor. So that was where the ideas began to come together, with the short story and the music. And I think the two things helped to make this a very cinematic, kind of experimental and quite a cinematic album.
That's why it feels like a soundtrack in
Yeah,
many
I think so.
parts.
Because
Yeah.
in a way it is. In a way it is a kind of soundtrack to this story. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, especially and I was to mention that because for example the Harmony Codex, the song, it's like science fiction, like
Mm.
synth, like, so yeah, now it has sense. You work in a small studio in London, I guess, with Jack Dangers from Midbeat Manifesto and Sam Bogarino from Interpol. Very interesting people with you. What did they bring to this record, and how can you define their output?
Well, so Sam is the drummer on a track called Staircase, and
The last one.
it's very hard to articulate exactly what somebody brings to a project. When at least when I'm working on music, and one of the beautiful things about being in isolation during this album was that I wasn't able to go into a studio with a consistent group of musicians. I had to essentially create the songs and then send them out via file sharing. Thank goodness for the internet. Send them out via the internet to musicians. And what that meant was that I could think about each song as almost like what's my dream band for this one song? What kind of band lineup would best suit this one song? And I don't normally think like that. I'm normally thinking, oh, look, I need a drummer for the album. I need a bass player for the album. And here, because I knew I was going to be essentially doing the album via the internet, I was able to think in terms of what drummer would best suit this one song. So I ended up with a lot of different drummers and a lot of different bass players, different guitar players, different keyboard players. And that was all really as a result of lockdown. And the answer to your question is I can't really give you an answer, except I thought to myself, I think Sam from Interpol would be perfect for this track. And it's a very intuitive thing. It's about being aware of somebody's style and kind of having a kind of an intuition that style would be the right one for a particular track. And it was the same with Jack. It's the same really with all the musicians on the album. I mean, I experimented a lot on this album in the sense of experimenting with different musicians, trying different approaches. And sometimes it didn't work, but the ones, obviously the guys on the album, the ones that I did feel definitely brought something special to the songs.
Apart from the story that you are telling on this record, and that it functions as like a soundtrack for the book in some way, I noticed that you are bringing some topics for albums. The Future Bites had to do a lot with globalization, social media, consumerism. Is there a topic in the Harmony Codex that is more general to the society this time, or is just focused on this particular story that you were writing?
No, I mean there is. So this idea of the never-ending staircase. I mean, I mentioned earlier that for me it's like a metaphor, and the metaphor for me is this idea that very often our lives can seem like we are trapped on this kind of never-ending staircase. And I think particularly in the modern world, there is so much stress, there's so much pressure sometimes from just the way that life is now, society is. And someone like myself, I mean, I'm in my 50s now, and when you get to my age, or even, it doesn't matter what age you are, there's always this pressure, in a sense, to play the game, to be a part of society, to do the things that everyone else is doing. And in the meantime, you find yourself getting into debt. You surround yourself by things that you don't really need. Your life is constantly being run by technology. And you're also being bombarded all the time by content, by music, by TV, by news, by pornography, but whatever it is, by social media. And so we're all kind of living in this world now where we're constantly feeling under stress because of this incredible, bombardment of information, content, life, stress, debt. And so this metaphor of the staircase for me, this never-ending staircase, became a very significant one. And a lot of the songs relate back to this idea of being stuck on a staircase, but not always in a negative way. I think there's also an element that the album also recognizes that sometimes you have to recognize that life is about the journey. It's not about the arrival. And a lot of the most beautiful moments in your life are things that you didn't necessarily expect, didn't necessarily plan, and they're things that happen along the way. And you can have dreams and you can have goals and you can have ambitions, but very often you never get there, but you have a really extraordinary, fascinating journey anyway. So sometimes being on that staircase is enough, and you can take a lot from that.
Great. That's a great concept. I noticed on social media that you were having some listening sessions with the fans in London. It would be amazing to participate in those. So how can you describe those instances for people, for example, here in South America that don't have that opportunity to share with you the listening to the record?
Oh, but I hope you will. I would love to do one in Chile.
In Chile would be
I would love
awesome.
to. I would love to. All it needs, well, I say all it needs, not these aren't, available everywhere, but all it needs really is a cinema that's equipped with Dolby Atmos, or a studio or a listening space that's equipped with Dolby Atmos. So, for example, we're doing events soon in Munich. We've done one in Amsterdam, Paris. I would be very happy to do an event for Chile, because to me, it is the ultimate way to hear the record. So I've worked very hard on making it sound good in stereo. Of course I have, I always do. But the ultimate way to hear the record for me is to hear it in spatial audio, with the music around you, above you, all this information coming from all around you in 3 dimensions. So you're literally inside the music. And I would love for us to set up an event in Chile. So in fact, I should maybe speak to the Virgin Chile office and see if we can do that, because I think it would be amazing for the fans to be able to come along and hear it that way. because I recognize that not everyone has an Atmos system in their in their home, you know. So yeah, so that would be amazing. Yeah, so yeah, we should definitely try and put that together.
Yeah, of course. It would be amazing, and sharing with you some questions and everything. It would be awesome. Finally, Steven, I can't let you go without asking you about the Country reunion last year. How do you evaluate the tour and especially the concert here in Chile?
Yeah, I think the Chile concert was definitely one of the big highlights for us. Always such a thrill to come and play to the audience in Chile anyway. So passionate and so engaged with the music. It was a lot of fun. You know, I think to me, going back to Porcupine Tree after all this year, there wasn't the same pressure that there was 15 years ago. And it was enjoyable. We didn't sort of have all the same you know, conflicts that we had all those years ago. We've grown up a bit. We've all got our own things. And we really just enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing the music again. I enjoyed picking up a guitar again. I mean, I haven't been really a guitar player for a long time. I've gravitated more and more towards electronics and using other guitar players. So to be a guitar player on stage again was quite exciting for me. Yeah. It was great fun. I mean, if it's the last thing we ever do, and it might be, it might not be, we don't know yet. If it's the last thing we ever do, I think it was a really nice way to kind of close that part of the story. Yeah.
Yeah, when I reviewed the record, I said something similar. And if this is if this is the final thing that Tree will ever do, I mean, it's the best way that you can
I
put the end on to that career, and we'll have you with other projects and the other members too. So
yeah, you know, I like to move forwards. I don't,
yeah,
as a rule, one thing I think my fans know about me is I don't like to go
yeah.
backwards. I like to move forwards. But this was a rare occasion where it felt like it was the right thing to do, and I think we did it well. And the concert in Chile was truly a highlight of the whole tour, I think, for me and the other guys. Yeah.
Steven, thank you very much for this interview. It was a pleasure talking to you. Hope to see you here in Chile soon and talk a little bit more. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Nice to speak to you too, Pablo. Have a great day. Thanks, buddy. Bye now. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Gracias, Pablo, te pasaste.
Gracias. Manden el recording. Peace.
No problem.